Hello. Good evening, folks. I appreciate y'all joining me. Um, to start, I hope everybody is having an amazing 2021. Seems like 2020 went by awful fast, even though it was a very different year. So, yeah, hope you guys had a great Yule. Hope this year's off to a really good start. Know we got a lot of good things going on, a lot of great things to look forward to. Says it before, but it's worth saying again a little bit at the top of the session tonight. 2020 was a really special year for the AFA. We spent all of last year celebrating our 25th anniversary, and in that celebratory year, hosted the largest gathering we've ever had for the Austrian Folk Assembly, and that was Midsummer at Odenshof at 143 individuals there, which was absolutely amazing. In 2020, we got two beautiful new Hofs to honor our gods. Got Thorshof in North Carolina, and we got Baldershof in Minnesota. We also saw the birth of 37 AFA babies, which is huge for any year in the AFA. It's absolutely amazing. So we had a lot of really good things happen last year. Thanks, Rob. I think I'm sitting about a week in. Started it at the solstice. We'll see if I keep it for a little bit here. I got used to growing them in the wintertime, and this year, for whatever reason, got distracted and didn't, so giving it a shot. Hey, guys. Looking on the side, there was a couple of folks reaching out. We had one gentleman a little ways up mentioned they were in Pennsylvania, wanting to know if we had folks there. We absolutely do. We have two amazing, a lot of amazing people actually in Pennsylvania. But our folk builder, Adam Hudak, is who I'd recommend you reach out to. Hopefully, my lovely wife will send you a message on the side letting you know how to get a hold of Adam. We also have Witten Clifford Erickson and his wife, Githya Katie Erickson in Pennsylvania. And so we've got a really good group there, and I encourage you to reach out to them. I noticed before I got on, we had a couple folks talking about some technical details that can help these broadcasts be a little bit better. I make no claims to being an expert at these. I just really enjoy doing them, and it's been a really beneficial way, I think, to interact with our AFA family. You guys seem to enjoy them, and I know I really look forward to them. So if anybody wants to help us, tighten these up or do them a little bit better, we'd always love to help. Looking over on the side. All right, looks like we have a couple of people from Brazil reaching out. That's great. It's good to see you guys here. Cool. All right. Well, one thing I did want to mention, AFA has gotten a lot of attention this last month. We ended off the year in a really great way. Some of you may or may not be aware of some of the challenges with Baldershof in Minnesota. The property that we got there, beautiful, beautiful property for our Hof. But in order for us to operate it as a Hof in the way that we want to, we needed a conditional use permit from the city to operate the building in a residential zone the way that it is. And we were very glad that the city of Murdoch granted us our conditional use permit, and we're excited about meeting all those couple of conditions we got to open the doors and getting that going. But that was very encouraging, and I appreciate everybody who supported us through that. People who are also true, people who are of our folk, and people who weren't. A lot of really great people reached out to support us, and we appreciate the city council making a very fair decision for us. Folks in Wyoming. We do have a couple of people in Wyoming. Not going to lie, we don't have a massive community in Wyoming, but we'd love to see that grow. So if you're interested in Wyoming, you should reach out to just reach out to Jason Gallagher. He's a folk builder I'd send you to. And again, hopefully my wife on the side can send you that contact information. Yes, Mary, it really is exciting to see all the new little babies getting born into the AFA. And I'm fortunate enough that in 2020, my beautiful little daughter, Aubrey, was born. And she's absolutely amazing. So 2020 was a really special year that way for babies. Yes, that's kind of a wrap up of how things went down at the end of 2020. Something else you guys may notice, there has been a massive influx in apprentice folk builders lately. And that is absolutely intentional. We have a lot of stuff to do, a lot of opportunities. As our AFA family grows, we always have more projects and more really special things that we want to do, but it takes volunteers and it takes committed men and women to reach out and want to participate in that and want to be a part of it. So we've kind of opened up some folk building opportunities to folks that really wanted to step in and volunteer, and we wanted to harness that enthusiasm and that commitment while it was fresh, and give those folks an opportunity to really show what they can do. And I anticipate a lot of really great things from that, and a lot of growth for the AFA coming in 2021. And I am pretty excited about that. We've got some really great people stepping forward for that. And as a matter of fact, right before the broadcast tonight, we had 2 more individuals in the AFA's Upper South region that want to help folk build in the coming months and years. So that'll be really good. Hello to our Oceania people. We got Peter Walker, I think from Australia, could be from New Zealand, but hi to anybody joining us from that area. You guys are awesome. We appreciate you and glad you joined us tonight. We have a Brazilian, looks like they're talking to us in Portuguese, and I'm sorry I can't quickly translate that on here. So I'm not ignoring you, but I don't speak Portuguese and I can't see, there's no translate option for me real quick. So please don't feel ignored. Alan, great to have you here. I'm excited. Those of you, Alan says he's a new member and he's about an hour and a half away from Baldershoff. Look forward to having you come out to raise a horn to celebrate Balder. And yeah, welcome to the Astro Folk Assembly. All right, guys. Well, so I guess to start off the Q&A portion, does anybody have any questions for tonight, or anything you guys want me to talk about, or anything y'all want me to answer? All right, while we wait on a couple of questions here, I guess I'll start off by a couple of things we got coming up. If you are able to and you're anywhere close, we have Thorfest coming on the 23rd of this month in the Denver area of Colorado. So if you guys can make that, if you're anywhere close, we'd love to see you out to that. And after that, in the month of February, we have, for the first time as an AFA national event, we have Charming of the Plow in the Pacific Northwest, and that's going to take place in Washington State. If you're able to come out to that, it's going to be amazing. Charming of the Plow has been great the last 2 years there, so we decided to give it a whirl and make it a national event this time. We're expecting a really nice turnout. We've got a very nice location rented out. So yeah, if you can make that, we would love to see you guys there. Marble Mountain Woodworks. How long does the permit for Baldershoff last, and is there a danger of the city revoking the permit? I can't forecast the future accurately, but the verbiage and the way the permit reads is no, the permit is yearly. It gets renewed every year, but it's an automatic renewal, assuming that we hold to our ends of those conditions. And I think that it says that we hold up to them substantially, or that we don't violate them substantially. We have every intention of following those conditions, being great neighbors, and living up to any of our obligations there. Can't say what people will or won't do, but according to our law speaker, Alan Turnage, and according to our understanding of any of the legalities, no, we should be fine. And as long as we hold up our end, that permit should renew every December. John, I have no idea what a Rumble account is, so I can say we are not looking into getting a Rumble account. But if you have information on that, or you think it's something we ought to get, please reach out to us on the side, and it's something we may want to consider. Okay, we have a question on the side about doing some reading, and there was Fornseither and Vanatru. First, I'll do the last first and the first last. Vanatru, I'm unaware of any organization or structure that calls themselves that. I know that as an idea or a category of groups or belief, that's a thing. From what I've heard in my interaction with people that claim that as what they do, it's much more of a primal nature focus. Obviously, by the name, they focus more on the Vanir gods instead of the Aesir. This paints with a very broad brush, so no offense to anybody this doesn't apply to. They tend to embrace a lot of what I would describe as primitivism. Also, a lot of very overt sexuality in Vanatru, I'd say. It tends to be people that are focused very on the chthonic and much less on the astral. That's what I'd say about Vanatru. And I don't think there's a lot of adherence. I think that's an other category that a lot of things end up having overlap in. Fornseither, a lot of people use that as a generic word that means the old way or the old practice. And so I think a lot of people consider themselves that or use that as a term. But I also, when I think of that, I have to consider the organization in Scandinavia, specifically in Denmark, that's the official organization, Fornseither. They're kind of a catch-all over there of Asatru practitioners. We have some AFA members that are part of that umbrella organization. I think that functions as kind of a tax delineation for governmental religious funds over there. So I think that encompasses all Asatru is some extension or has some involvement in that organization, whether or not everyone in that organization has much in common other than claiming Asatru, I'm not sure. I know there's a lot of universalists involved, but again, any folkish practitioners that want to be part of what's going on in Denmark, I think they do have to interact with that organization. So I think that's more of a big umbrella thing over there than a specific religious creed, but that's the most I know about it to give you right now. Can I explain how the AFA leadership model is structured? Absolutely. So let's start with this. I mentioned the folk builders, the apprentice folk builders volunteering lately, which is a really good thing. That's kind of the entry level of our leadership situation. You'll have volunteers that step up wanting to be an apprentice folk builder, and they'll usually be in that spot for at least a year. Give them up an opportunity to see if they want to continue to folk build with us, if the job is something that, that they want to do, and if it's something that works out with their life and their family and their situation. Also a time that we can see if they're a good fit, if they're people that we want in that position. Assuming we want them and they want to keep doing what they're doing, then about a year in, they get an opportunity to oath as an oathed folk builder. And that's when AFA leadership really starts. They are the local face of the Asatru Folk Assembly. They're the face of leadership to our membership in their area, and they're also the face of their membership to the rest of leadership. It's their job to build and to maintain and care for the needs of our membership in that area and to help make sure everybody's squared away. They have a lot of admin duties behind the scenes, but they have a lot of just gathering people together and answering questions and facilitating meetings. They're really, a lot of folks, when they reach out, they think that we have some AFA genie out west somewhere that, or maybe I sit here in this chair and cast some hocus pocus and make stuff happen. The stuff happens by dedicated men and women who are willing to step up and do things. And the first rung of that is our folk builders. So yeah, as of last year, so we're a year into this now, we've combined our Gothar and our folk building programs into one unified leadership structure. So if you are a folk builder, you have the opportunity, once you're oathed, to apply to our Gothar program if you want to continue up the ladder. And if being a priest for our gods and our goddesses is a call to you, if that's something that you feel you want to dedicate your life to. If that's the case, you go through about a year-long training process, again, to a year to 2 year. And the idea is not only to do the book studies that are involved in that, but more importantly, but also importantly, to learn counseling, to learn leadership skills, to really become a functioning spiritual leader for our groups. And all of our regions, they may have multiple folk builders, but all of our regions are under the leadership of an AFA Gothi or Githya. Sometimes there's multiple of these in an area, but our Gothar, the Gothis and the Githyas, are the ones that manage the folk builders underneath them. And then above that, we have the AFA Witten. This is made up of wise and time-tested men that have put in the years, put in the effort, put in the dedication to the Austria Folk Assembly. And our Witten forms an advisory council. The Witten oversees the Gothar, and the Witten and I discuss the important issues of the AFA. We talk all of the time, but we have 2 formal meetings a month that we make sure we meet on and discuss pressing matters. They advise me on things, and they help me administer the Austria Folk Assembly. And then above the Witten is me. As the Alsharrier Gothi, the decisions and the spiritual well-being of the AFA ultimately rest with me, and the buck stops here. And that's kind of how we're structured. It's how we've always been structured, and that hierarchy works really well for us. I hope that answers your question. I think it may answer a couple of questions here. I'm scrolling back up. Marble Mountain, you are not going too fast with heavy questions. I appreciate any questions you guys want to ask. Marble Mountain, I don't think the question is really convincing locals. I think the controversy with Baldershoff has been fake news. We've had a lot of locals reach out and support. I think there's probably a lot more locals that really don't care. The longer we're there and the less we're hassled by the fake news, the better we'll be. We're good neighbors. We're good people. We're going to be a very good asset to that community. We're going to treat people well. And they'll see that. I don't have any doubts about that. The folks that come in, the outside agitators, and the people that want to create problems where one doesn't exist, they're the ones causing an issue. They're the ones who have trouble. And hopefully they're the ones that are going to disappear. But we'll see. Time will tell. Yeah, I've never heard of Rumble as a social media platform. It's something we'll look into. I appreciate all the social media platforms out there that are trying to support free speech. One of the troubles we won't run into is there's so many different ones, and everybody has a pet platform that's their baby that they really like. Thing is, with something like Facebook, it reaches billions of people. Some of these others reach hundreds of people. And as far as people who are our audience or people who we want to get our message to, maybe tens of people. So it's hard to figure that out in a way that's going to be the best use of resources and that's going to reach the most people we're trying to reach. Got a question about Thor's hammer pendants. Asking if they get if there's a blessing right for new wearers, and if there's any preferred design or vendors. The blessing for a new hammer or for a new person wearing a hammer is a very unique thing. And I know a lot of people, depending upon where they come from and where they found Asatru, have different traditions with that. We have no specific unified AFA tradition on how to bless hammers. We know a lot of people do a private rite when they get a new one. There have been times when we'll do usually at a Wayfarer's Bloat in an AFA event, where people will take off their hammers, put them all, onto a stone, onto the altar, and have them blessed at that time. But as far as a new one, it's a really individual thing that a lot of folks do. But I know a number of people have individual blessings that they do with that, or when they put their hammer on. I know Steve McNallen does that. He's got a personal one that he does. I've done them before. I've done them individually for new ones for individuals. So I think that is something that's done, but I wish I had a really good layout for you. And I think we may provide one of those coming up soon. Preferred designs or vendors? No, not really. Sky's the limit. I think that the scope of different hammers in our ancestors' day was vast. Many, many different styles and shapes and sizes were used in the past, and we're not stuck in the past. There's many different shapes and styles used today, and some are very beautiful. I know that ladies especially are always searching for nice feminine hammers to still represent Thor, to still represent our faith, but to have a hammer that complements them and that complements their femininity. And we're seeing some more really cool designs that way. All kind of different materials. I tend to prefer a silver hammer. Yeah, I don't have a particular vendor to send you to. There's a lot of really good places to get them. Way back when I got my first one in Anchorage, Alaska, back in 2001, I got it at the museum store. And I'm not sure if that was in the malls down other places where people may be at, but it's a place that sold, replica swords and fancy chess pieces and all kind of little knickknacks in the mall. But it also had a section of pendants and a number of Thor's hammer pendants. And I got one very much like this, but I got it in brass. And I still have that here at the house. I gifted it to my daughter at her naming ceremony. And that was my first hammer. As a thought, your information is newer than last I had. If Fornsather in Denmark has outlawed AFA members in their group, then that's news to me. The intel I had from that was about 2014, so things could have very significantly changed since then. It's unfortunate if they do, because they miss out on the very best followers of Asatru in that case. Justin, I've been part of Asatru since 2001, and I've been a member of the AFA since 2009. But I was a big fan of Steve McNallen and the Asatru Folk Assembly when I first joined. Finding Steve's videos are one of the things that brought me to Asatru and helped me realize that it was a real thing that existed in our day and age. And so, yeah, I've been involved since 2001. Good books to read in 2021. That's a huge question. Any kind of topics that you want me to suggest book wise? Hmm. Um, Antifa. Yeah, where to start online is www.runestone.org. That is our website. You mentioned that you've noticed a lot of groups online dissolve fairly quickly and come and go. That's one of the very special things about the House True Folk Assembly. We are celebrating, we are into our 27th year now. Um, we've been around a long time and we will continue to be around. I wouldn't worry about, suppose that's easy for me to say, but I wouldn't worry about other groups and things. I would focus on the True Folk Assembly. I think that we are doing something that pleases the gods and pleases our ancestors. And yeah, I think we're the best thing going that way. And I encourage you to reach out on our website, take a look. And if you have any questions, to contact one of our folk builders, or you're welcome to contact me personally. Brandy, could I speak about our days of remembrance for each month and why we celebrate those heroes? Yes, generally. No, I'm not going to itemize all of them right at this second, but our days of remembrance, we want to celebrate our heroes that have at great sacrifice to themselves, some of them sacrificed their very lives, taken a stand for our gods and our faith and vows of truth. Some of our heroes that we celebrate with our days of remembrance are from the very distant past. We have one who is, a a king of a Gothic tribe who was encountering persecution at the hands of the Roman Empire and some of his own people during the conversion. We have numerous people from the Viking Age in Norway on there. We have an Icelander. We have a Frisian, and more recently, we have some of our modern heroes that brought Asatru to us. We have Elsie Christensen. We have Alexander Rudd Mills. We have Meister Guido von List. These people are just as much heroes of Asatru as these figures from the ancient past. In fact, these people built and shaped and paved the way for what we have and what we're doing right now in this very podcast. I suppose it's not a podcast, this very live stream. Um, so it's really important to remember those that have paved the way. It's important to celebrate them. Ours, our faith has always been one that celebrates the cult of the hero and exalts those people who have shown heroics and who have raised themselves above, and those people who have ascended. And we believe that these people were so special, so heroic, and so important that by continuing to celebrate them, continuing to honor them, and give them worth and worship, that we help them ascend. We help their existence in the afterlife for them to have more and to be more and to build that reputation. The reputation of the people that we care about and the people that we celebrate doesn't stop at death. It goes on, across the worlds. It goes on beyond the veil. And it's very important we remember those people. It's also extremely important that we see their example and that we can show their example to our children, that we ourselves can be strengthened and learn by their example. And it's also just important that we remember. We honor the dead. We honor those who have come before us. We honor history. We're people that are thankful for the things that others have done for us and the path that's been laid out. And we want to celebrate that. We want to strive to be those people that in days and years and centuries to come, perhaps they'll have days of remembrance and celebrate us. So that's why we celebrate our days of remembrance. Hmm. Hmm. Vox, we're very on board with doing some of that. We need volunteers to help us with it, though. Admitting and providing content and overseeing dozens of social media platforms takes some committed people who are willing to do it, not just today, but do it for the long term. So when we get the volunteers who want to help with those different social media outreaches, be very happy to expand there. I think doing as much in as many places as we can is probably the best approach. It's just a matter of having the people to do it. Vox, you're going to have to talk to me on the side about some of these things. I don't even speak the language you're speaking, but I really would like to make these better and help with them. So, yeah, if you have suggestions and ideas, please do reach out. Justin, don't be sorry. I appreciate you trying to send Brandy to our website. I think that's great. I would like everybody to go with questions and check out our website because we do try to answer them there and give them good information. Sorry, guys. I'm looking on the side trying to see, what questions. I got a little bit long-winded, so there's a lot of stuff to catch up on. Hmm. Books about Germanic religion. Eli, I would recommend, and I recommend everybody this, I think it's really important, is The Culture of the Teutons by Wilhelm Grönbeck. Culture of the Teutons is one of those books it's one of the few books that I've read. I've had to just, almost just about every chapter, certainly in the first half of the book, I had to set the book down and just absorb what I read. It literally just blew my mind the way things were expressed in it. Some of the concepts I think we all kind of know in a general sense, but the way it was encapsulated and the way that Grönbeck put it in the book, I think, is really profound and has very important implications on how we do what we do. So I think that's a really important one I would suggest reading. I always suggest Steve's book, Asatru, A Native European Spirituality. I think that's really important, and it tells a lot about Steve and the life he's led and the reasons in his case for Asatru and why it is what it is and why it is so important. And I think that's a really, really good one to read if you haven't read it. So that's the first two I'd recommend. White homeland question. I have not seen a viable situation where that's a thing right now. What I do think is a thing, and what's really, really important with the AFA, and I think is really important for us to focus on, is building that culture within the framework that we have. Maybe there will come a day where there's some independent white homeland somewhere, and that's a discussion to be had at that time. But in the meantime, we live in the world that we live in. What I think is great is creating our own golden age within the Asatru Folk Assembly that exists within the wolf age that the rest of the world's in. And we've seen that. One of the really nice things this year when everybody else has been, locking down and hiding indoors, the AFA has gathered. We've done things. We've celebrated our gods. No masks, hugging, sharing a horn. We've had these islands of normalcy and of wholeness and of how things are supposed to be in a world that's very, very out of whack. And we've had that at AFA events. We've had that at AFA Hofs. And we're building that within the shell of the world we have around us. And I think that's really important. We're providing a place folks can go to be with our people, to celebrate our culture and our gods, and to do it together and make each other stronger. And we have that, and we're chipping away at it. It may be a few little islands here and there, but it's much more than we had when I got involved, and it will be much more than it is now in the years to come. And hopefully, you want to be a part of that. Sally, we absolutely could for each of our days of remembrance. As a matter of fact, Witten Spawn Harrell is working on that as we speak. He's working on that, and Githya Katie Erickson already has the first two articles for our Days of Remembrance set up. Hopefully, we'll get those on the website sooner rather than later. Matter of fact, when we get done with this very conversation, I'll see about getting at least the first couple up there. Harry, I'm glad you're with us tonight. I hope things are going good. I hope you had a really good Yule. Justin, I'm glad you've been around Asatru for it's quite a long time, joining in or being involved in Asatru since 2007. That's great, and I'm glad you're joining us tonight. Can I talk more about our AFA family back in the old countries and prospects for growth in the future? Sure, it's hard to accurately forecast prospects for growth in Europe. There's so many different things, and it all really depends on where you're at and what country you're in. But we've seen over the past few years amazing growth for the AFA in Europe. We've seen very significant growth in Norway, in Italy, in most recently in Ireland and the United Kingdom. We have our very first Irish kindred in December that we Paca McTira, and they're headed up by our folk builder for Ireland, Fiona Edgar, and she's doing a great job. They've got a fine group of people, and they're doing great things. I think we'll grow significantly in Ireland and the United Kingdom in the coming years. We're doing great in Sweden. I was saving Sweden for last because they're currently our brightest shining star over there as far as how AFA is doing in Europe. But Anders Nilsson, our folk builder in Scandinavia, he is doing an amazing job in Sweden. Got a fantastic membership over there, a very active membership over there. We had the honor of visiting them a couple of years back, and it was really amazing to meet those folks. They're doing some great things, and Anders is a really special man, so they're very lucky to have him over there. I think that'll grow and get better. I'd like to see us do some more AFA events in Europe in the coming years. It's hard right now to know what's what with the various lockdowns. We were fixing last year to do one in Italy, and the COVID situation made that not work out for us this year, but hopefully soon. And perhaps we're in the talks of maybe 2021 doing another event in Sweden ran by Anders. And that would be amazing. I look forward to going back over there and seeing those folks again. Some of the most amazing people I've met. Yeah, Bodie mentions that folks would be surprised just where all we have members. We have members right now in 15 countries around the world. We have membership throughout the United States. I think you'd be really surprised. Chances are where you're at, there's AFA members close to you that you may not even know about. Anybody who's interested, I would highly encourage you reach out to your local folk builder. You can find that list at www.runestone.org. We have AFA members near you. And if for some reason we don't, we would like to. If you want to join up and help us make that happen, we're always looking to do that. I appreciate you guys helping me out with questions that I might have missed. Looks like I missed one earlier about what's the best way to talk to Christians that tend to agree with us, but are Christian and may live in the Bible Belt part of the country. I think the key there, especially getting conservative Americans, is letting them know about our values more than our uh, deeper metaphysics. I think that a talk about the gods is more towards the end of the conversation and not towards the beginning. I think getting those Christians to understand the commonality we have with traditional family values, traditional gender roles, um, the things that we all very obviously agree on about traditional Western culture, getting those figured out, and then going from there. I think something else that Bible Belt Christians tend to know and appreciate, even if they don't express it in the same terms, is our sense of history and our sense of reverence for the dead and reverence for those who come before us. We may use it in more idolatrous terms than they're comfortable with, but the reverence for dead loved ones and for our ancestors is something that's so fundamental to our people. Very few Christians really shun that. They just find different ways to play mental gymnastics to make it okay with them. So I would focus on our social value, our social traditional Western values. I think that would bridge some of that gap. I think talking about our ancestors would be good. And then I think it opens the conversation when we talk about our gods to make it a little bit more palatable to those Christians that maybe haven't considered it before. The other thing is separating us from what they may have in their head about pagans. Very often, too often in the history of the United States, the idea of paganism has been associated with degeneracy. It's been associated with a bunch of weirdos doing crazy stuff, dressing up silly, and, turning everything into some kind of weird orgy. And that's not what we're doing. I think the Bible Belt folks would like to know that we're about healthy families. We're about, family values. We're about structure. We're about order and not about chaos. And I think that if they see that from you, not just hear it, but if they see that from you and they see that in your life, they'll make that mental separation between you and whatever they have in their head that they think pagans do. James, it took me a second to realize that was you on there. I appreciate you being on here, James. I am all for everybody switching to Hoftoller in 2021, but I'm certainly not gonna strong arm anybody into it. But I will mention what it is, and I appreciate you bringing it up. Um, our people have always been very uncomfortable talking about money, uh, but whether we like it or we don't, you need money to do things. We need money to be successful. We need money to have nice things. We need money to open up Hofs. We need money to throw events. We need money to be a real and legitimate church that we are. And we've been able to do what we have so far by the generosity of our members. And we've got some people that have given in very big ways and contributed quite a bit. And we're very, very appreciative of it. Hoftoller is something that was introduced in, I believe, this time in 2019. And it is a percentage-based giving. So rather than a membership dues of $10 or $25 a month, it's based on a minimum of 1% of your income. And if you want to join as a family, it would be 1% of your household income. And that would mean, all of the adults in your house being AFA members on that, if you'd like to do a household Hoftoller. Hoftoller is how religions work. Many religions call it different things, but percentage-based giving is how every successful religion that I'm aware of is able to function, able to have houses of worship, and able to do their mission. So we're very appreciative of our members that have started paying that way. And that's very much a really great trend that we're seeing that's helping us accomplish more. I'd say Hoftoller is one of the big reasons that we were able to get 2 Hofs in 2020. So yeah, it doesn't have to be tricky. A lot of people sign up for the Hoftoller and they get it figured out with their payroll department at work, and the money comes out 1% or however much they'd like to give, but a minimum of 1%. And no harm, no foul. That goes goes out of their paycheck into the account and fuels us for doing great things. But it's as easy as you guys want. It's the honor system. Nobody's chasing you guys down and trying to, piece through anybody's tax returns. If you're willing to say you're giving us 1%, then we're happy to make that as easy as possible. And like I say, that type of giving is what really changes the game and really moves us forward. So anyone who would like to, please reach out to your folk builder, or please reach out to me and I can get you squared away. Thank you so much to our members that do currently pay by Hoftoller. We really appreciate you. And one of the great things about Hoftoller is we rise and fall together. If you're having a hard time and you make very little, that 1% is very small. If your ship comes in and everything's great, then we all rise and that 1% becomes quite a bit better. Hopefully we make each of our members better, we make each other better, and that percentage ends up being a much bigger sum because we're all doing so great. That's what I'd like to see, and I really hope that comes for us in 2021. Dan, yes, absolutely. Reach out to Brandy Callahan, and she can help you with some of our parenting groups. We don't have a huge homeschooling curriculum thing figured out yet. I would love to see that. I would especially love to see that as my daughter grows, so that I can be part of helping make that happen, and we can utilize those resources. Something we're working on, but Brandy is kind of cutting edge on what we're doing as far as those kind of ideas and how to help educate our kids. So I'd reach out to Brandy Callahan. Maybe on the side she can get in touch with you, or Mandy can link you guys up. How many people does it take to create a Kindred, and what's involved with its creation? So Jeff, one thing that's involved is reaching out to our Kindred coordinator, Clifford Erickson, and I guess our Kindred coordinators, Clifford Erickson and Jason Gallagher. They're both heading up that program. They're doing good things for us, and they can kind of help guide that creation if it's something you're thinking about. The minimum requirement is 3 adult AFA members. An AFA Kindred is made up exclusively of Ours True Folk Assembly members, with the understanding that it's a local outgrowth of the AFA, and so it's loyal to the AFA and its members are loyal to the AFA. That loyalty is extremely important, and it's what makes us effective, and it's what binds us together. It's what our ancestors and what we call frith, and it's essential. But yeah, that Kindred would be three AFA member adults at least. The idea is to have you guys close geographically. There's no specific rule on how far apart you guys can be, but the idea is to get you guys close together. And it takes, we have a probationary period so that you guys can figure out whether you want to be an AFA Kindred, whether you work well together, and we can make sure that's a good fit. It's about a 6-month probationary period for new Kindreds wanting to join us. With that frith comes the AFA really wants to support you and help your Kindred any way we can and be there for you guys. And we'd love for you guys to be there for us too. So if you're interested, reach out on the side. Again, Mandy can probably get you squared away with Cliff and Jason's contact info. Or we've made it easy. I forgot about that for a second. You can email kindreds@runestone.org. That'll also get you answers. Justin, I have never described myself as a tribalist in any way. And I think that term's always been kind of nebulous on what people mean. A lot of people use the term tribalist and mean different things. And a lot of people, when they say tribe, try to reduce tribe down to them and their 5 buddies in their backyard. And that's not a tribe in my understanding. To our ancestors, when they talked about a tribe, it's tens of thousands of people. So I think it all depends on scale and what it means to be tribalist. I very much believe in being part of the Ours True Folk Assembly, in us being a unified church, and our church is international in scope. I think that we build a meta tribe, as Steve McNallen has called it. We build a big structure within the framework. And I think that's how we become, I think that's how we maximize our impact on the world. Whenever I see tribal, and again, tribalism means real different things to real different people, depend on what they're saying and what they mean. So I don't think this speaks for everybody that describes themselves this way, but there's a really destructive tendency of our folk to want to break everything down to their most smallest little local unit, and that taken ad infinitum ends up being just you and your family and your house, and everybody else isn't part of your tribe. um, the more we break up into little small groups, into little small clans, into little small segments of our folk, we become increasingly insignificant. When we stand together as a united folk, as a united people, we see this in our history. When we stand united, we've done great things. So I really do believe in that bigger picture. Got a VIP joining us. This is my daughter, Aubrey. This is one of those amazing, beautiful 37 babies that we've had in the AFA this year. And I'm very lucky to have this one. I appreciate you joining us tonight, Obs. But yeah, in short, I don't describe myself as a tribalist, but that's one of those words you got to be careful because different people mean different things. I'm sure Mandy can provide you links to folks in Iron Guard and Stonewall and help you get in touch. If you're looking to, some fine people there, some of our very best people. My daughter's trying to mess with our live chat. Hopefully she doesn't reach the keyboard. Orion, I don't know what you mean when you talk about being white separatist. No, a big point of the AFA is not to break away from the society that we live in. We are where we are and we live where we live. And I'm not addressing the politics of that as good, bad, or otherwise. I'm just addressing what is. Our big goal, like I said, is to practice our faith with each other, celebrating our common culture, our common gods, and our common faith. We're part of the communities that we're in. And it's also been really important that while we're in the situation that we're in, that we be good neighbors and good members of the communities that we're in. So we want to get involved in our communities. We want to interact with people. We have no big tenets about not interacting with other types of folks that are in our community. But there's a big difference in what we do in our church and in our religious practice and how we relate to our gods than how we choose to interact or not to interact with other groups of people. And that's entirely up to you. I'm saying, I'm not taking any great position on that one way or another, but we're in communities with all kind of folks, and we've always strove to be good neighbors and to be good parts of that community. And it's something we do sincerely believe in. And another thing that's really important to us is behaving nobly and interacting nobly with folks. So no matter who we come across, we want to interact like noble people. We want to extend fair treatment and decency to whatever kind of folks we come across, assuming that they're treating us decently and being decent to us. That's part of the world we live in, and I think that's something that defines us as being good people. And at the end of the day, we're good people, despite what other people may want to say. American Viking, that is really unfortunate. If you've reached out to these people on email and something's not working, please let me know. You can reach out to me at mattflavel@runestone.org, and I will try to get you squared away and connected with folks in your area. Please do reach out and we'll make it work. Also, I see Rob put his email out there. He's part of the region that you're talking about, and he can help you out too. Oh, wow, looks like a lot of our folk builders are stepped forward. So should be able to get you nice and connected. Yeah. Dan's asking about our position on Loki. He says that he's mentioned our general position of not venerating Loki to a heathen and they said it was very Christian. Get a lot of folks that think Alsa is defined about how not Christian it is. And that's missing the point. And I think it's, I suppose, ignorant. I think juvenile is maybe more stink on it than I mean. But we don't define ourselves by what we aren't. And I'm not Alsa by virtue of how not Christian I am. We're Alsa as an independent faith. Alsa is not like another more evolved word for Satanist or devil worship. We reject that entire worldview, and instead we worship our religion fresh and on its own merits. Alsa means troth or loyalty to the Aesir. Loki in all of our legend is the one that goes against the Aesir so often. He's the one that leads the forces of chaos at Ragnarok. He's the one that does harm to the Aesir. He's the one that orchestrates the killing of Balder, the killing of Odin's son. No, we don't venerate Loki. That's not a Christian thing. That's a civilized, noble Alsa thing. That's a loyalty to the Aesir thing. There is no concept in Alsa that we reject good and evil. We tend to name it order versus chaos rather than good and evil. But there's absolutely good and bad, and Loki's on the bad side. And no, we don't bring forces of chaos into what we do. We don't celebrate the gods of chaos. We celebrate the gods of cosmic order. That's what the Aesir are. So that's absolutely what we do. And, Dan mentions that he notices a lot of non-folkish heathens are into Loki first. I don't like to use the word heathen. I use the word Alsa. Heathen is a derogatory word used by outsiders to describe us. Alsa is a dignified word that we use to describe ourselves. We describe it based on our loyalty to the Aesir. Secondly, I don't think there's any non-folkish heathens. I think that if someone's non-folkish, then I don't find that faith to be sincere, and I don't find it to be legitimate. And I think that people who there's a basket of things that all go together with non-folkish. Degeneracy is part of that. Chaos, they all go hand in hand. When you look at people who practice a certain way or who champion certain gods and there's commonality there, I think that speaks to that faith, and I think that speaks to those deities. So I think the fact that you notice a lot of non-folkish heathens worshiping Loki paints a pretty good picture of why we don't do that. You're right. The Christians do call it tithing. And I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence or pretend it's anything different, other than I think tithe means 10%, and we're only asking for 1. If your grandfather and other good Christians are very, very willing to give 10% of their increase to make their church successful and to glorify their God, I think that if we can do just at least 1/10 of that, how much further ahead would we be, and how much great things would we have? They may call it tithing, but other non-Christian, non-Abrahamic faiths also do percentage-based giving. And looking it up, that's my understanding of how Shinto do their shrines. And their priesthood. That's how the Hindus are able to function. We didn't just come up with the word Hoftoller. It's actually a word that our ancestors used, and it was a tax that was used to support the Gothar and the Hofs that our ancestors had. So, there was also taxes and percentage-based giving that was given in various branches of Aryan spirituality in the Greco-Roman faiths. And it's extremely important that we're willing to contribute that way, or that some folks are willing to contribute that way, because that's how we have nice things. Like I said earlier on a different comment, we're not trying to be as not Christian as possible. And just because the Christians do something doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. We're rejecting that idea entirely and starting fresh and saying, what should we do as a faith that stands on our own? And what should we not do? and giving a percentage of what we bring in to support our gods, to support our Gothar, to support our Hoffs, to support all the things we're trying to do. That's the key to success or failure. Um, so Zachary, I'm not sure if I understand your question. If there's any member login to pay sooner, pay more, or anything to do that with payment options. There's tons of options, especially if you want to pay by Hoftoller. And if you reach out to your folk builder, they can get you squared away with the way that's most in line with what you feel compelled to do and what you'd like to do, and what's going to be easiest for your situation. So they'd be very, very happy to help you with that. And thank you so much for donating in that way. No, Justin, I don't think respect towards the Jotuns or to Loki is necessary at all. I think that whatever blood brotherhood is supposed by one line, one passage, one place is superseded by the murder of Odin's son. And I think that leading the forces of chaos at Ragnarok kind of disqualifies Loki and those Jotnar involved from any sort of, you know, respect or worship practices. It's not about one of the really important things I feel about Asatru is it's about relationships with real and living deities. And if you treat them like mythic elements in an ancient story, then I could see some kind of abstraction where it's okay to honor those forces. But if you're in a gifting cycle with living deities, with actual gods, then to support those forces that seek to destroy and kill them and seek to destroy Midgard, and forces that sought to kill and murder Balder, that would be extremely shameful. And there's no part of me that feels that Odin, who spoke to his son on the funeral pyre, those words that none know but him, would support in any way any Asatru honoring Loki or the forces of chaos. And I think that's what's important is building relationships with our gods. And in any kind of a frith relationship with the Aesir, I think that speaks for itself. Mm. Now I'm just getting to the part of the conversation where you guys saw my cat. She's so used to helping me on these things that I don't even notice sometimes when she crawls up here. Mm. Mm. Uh, Vox, obviously you and I view our gods differently, but your point of restraining on the point that you talk about adrenaline and chaining it up to prevent problems. Um, and I can't tell tone, so I hope it's a serious point. But one thing I think is worth mentioning in this, regardless, that comes up is when we mention the idea of order over chaos, there's chaotic elements in life. But one of the keys to what the Aesir did and what the Aesir do, and what we do as noble people, is take chaotic things and shape them to our will. Chaos exists. As a matter of fact, the Gununga Gap is chaos itself. But what's telling about the Aesir and about Odin is that Odin took chaos and broke it down and shaped it into our reality. shaped it according to his will. And that's what we want to do, is we want to take chaotic things and bind them and shape them and utilize them with control. We want to bring order to chaos. And I think that's maybe a better way to put that order chaos relationship, um, for what it's worth. Hmm. Vox, as I continue to read your posts, I think that's really important too. One of the things we don't want to come, and again, I take this out of the Loki thing. We reject Loki totally. But the idea of ordered cosmic forces versus um, more primal forces, we don't want to disregard the primal elements of ourselves, but we want to shape them and guide them with our will and guide them with astral force of order with the Aesir. We want the Aesir to guide those more primal parts of ourselves and bring that primal strength in line with our divine will. Mm. Alan, we tip a lot of our regions, and I forget exactly where you're located, but a lot of our regions are doing video calls regularly. Certainly, they're doing conference calls. So get in touch with your folk builder, and they can get you squared away on any kind of video calls or conference calls in your region, because those do absolutely go on. Antifa. Follow up your question earlier, and I think I'm a little bit behind on the comments. You said, what if they aren't noble to us? I'm not asking anybody to treat people who have treated you poorly to treat those people well. I think the Have 'em all instructs us, when people treat us poorly, to treat them back in kind. So I wouldn't ask for you to behave nobly to people that don't. Well, I say that. I wouldn't ask you to treat people well who treat you poorly, but there's a certain bearing carrying yourself with that is noble, even when you're in open opposition to a different person or a different group of people. How you behave in the nobility in which you carry yourself, even to the point of combat, speaks really highly of you and the group that you're a part of. And it's on display for your ancestors, for the gods, and for those around you to see how you behave. So I think you should act noble all the time. I think we should treat other people who treat us well. I think we owe those people treating them very well. And I think people who treat us poorly, we don't owe that to. But like I told you, your politics are your own, and I'm not in any way trying to criticize them or buy into them and agree with them. But that nobility, I think, is very key to what we do. I'm sorry, I'm just catching up on the conversation over here on the side. I appreciate you guys asking so many questions tonight and being here. Um, I look forward to these every month. I really enjoy speaking with y'all and answering questions from new people or people I haven't heard from. Bodie, I appreciate you fighting the good fight over there in the chat. I fully support and endorse the things that my good friend Bodie is saying to y'all over there. If he's answering or shedding light on something in a different way than I am. Looks like he's being pretty squared away in what he's how he's responding. Daniel, that is awesome. That is profound. And explaining things, if you guys didn't read it on the side, Daniel mentions how our ancestors hailed the fire in the hearth and they didn't hail the forest fire. Fire is useful, but fire out of control and under the direction of chaos destroys. But fire under the direction of order, it cooks, it cleanses, it smelts, it heats. So I think that's very useful. What would I? So another one of our recent apprentice folk builders, Tim Dumas, asks what I would say to people that are Christians, agnostics, and so forth that want to be involved with the AFA. Depends on what involved means. First, Christians, agnostics, whatever they may be, if they wish us well and want to, I guess help us out and be nice to us and give us kindness, then that's fantastic. And we really appreciate it. One of the nicest things that we heard from a non-Aussertruar in this whole situation with Baldershoff and, a number of people that, the social justice warriors that were out there decrying what we did, we heard from a black man, a minister, Minister Farrakhan Muhammad of the Nation of Islam. And he reached out and he gave us he appreciated what we were doing. He looked at our website. He appreciated us trying to make our people noble and live to their highest standard. And he wished us well. And what we do with that is we say, thank you. I appreciate it. It depends on how much more they want to be involved. I think that there's room for I say that. If people are interested, then sure, share with them what we do. If they're genuinely interested and their friends and family, they're welcome to, if they're vouched for, attend an event and see what we're about. If they are Christians that are wavering and questioning their Christianity, then by all means, show them what we have to offer and show them what we believe, and hopefully they'll come our way. If they're agnostics, and I noticed you said agnostics and not atheists, but either way, they can come to a knowledge of our gods, come to an understanding. One of the easiest things to do I say easiest things to do. One more easy avenue for agnostics and atheists is an understanding of our ancestors, because whether it's easy or not for people to perceive of the gods, certainly our ancestors exist, or at the very least they existed. If they didn't, we wouldn't be here. That's common sense. It sounds silly to even say out loud, but it's the first step sometimes for agnostics and atheists to understand what we do and to want to be involved in it and be part of it. One of the things I've noticed as far as belief goes, there's levels in belief. A whole lot of people say they believe, but one of the most beautiful and amazing things that I've experienced as a Gothi is watching people's eyes when they thought they believed, but all of a sudden it got real. And you see that at events. You see that during ritual. And not for everyone all at once. No, it's very special to different people. There's some rituals that, really touch particular people. And there's some that are, don't connect as well with them that day. But to see when all of a sudden it's real, not just you think it is, not just you believe it is, but you know it is, that's really special. And that comes to people at different times. So I would encourage Christians, agnostics, I say that, Christians who have questions and are curious and want to know more, I'd encourage those people to come around. If they can't fully support our faith enough to be a member of the AFA, which I respect, then there's other ways they can contribute. If they want to donate, that's great. And not just money. I mean, I'm not going to lie, money makes stuff happen. But if they want to donate effort, labor, if there's stuff they want to do to help, with a project at our Hoff or a project we're involved in, we would love to help. If they just want to help get our message out there to folks that would be interested, we appreciate that. There's a lot of stuff that they can do, but you do need to be also true to be a member of our church because we are a religion. That's what we believe in. But no, please don't discourage Christians, agnostics, anybody else that wants to help out. As long as there are folk, we would love to have them involved in what we're doing in a way that's appropriate to their current spirituality. Dan, I think that's an interesting question. I think how closely rooted you are to an individual non-Germanic but clearly Indo-European pantheon will dictate how you approach them during ritual. In the AFA, so that we're unified in our practice and unified in our worship, we use the Norse names for our gods and goddesses. But I do believe that our gods and goddesses are pan-European, and they have different name and different some different stories depending upon that branch of our Indo-European family. But I think that the divinity is the same, and I think that by worshiping our gods under their Norse names in their Germanic context, we honor those gods that are pan-Aryan. And that's really important in our practice, especially in the United States, when, as you mentioned, so many of us are from very different backgrounds within that common racial structure. And I think there's more that ties us together than that separates us by far. But yeah, I don't think there's any conflict between our folk that have Slavic, Baltic, Celtic, or other Indo-European backgrounds celebrating and worshiping our gods in the Austrian Folk Assembly. And I would encourage all those folks to join us and join with what we're doing. American Viking, we're glad you're here listening. I'm glad you guys have all joined tonight. We've got a lot of people in the room tonight, a lot of comments on the side. Thank you for putting up with my little time I take here to read the questions on the side. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. I also appreciate you guys that are calling me on it if I do miss something, because I'm not ducking any comments, but I may not catch everything, especially because there's so many of you guys tonight. Looks like y'all are having a good discussion by yourselves over there. That's cool too. I appreciate it. I'm just glad you guys are interested and everybody's having a good conversation. There we go. Okay, cool. Yes, Zachary, if you want to become a Gothi in the Austrian Folk Assembly, you need to first go through being a folk builder. And there's a couple of reasons for that. A lot of folks, when they conceptualize what being a Gothi is, and I'm not saying this is your case at all, you may not be like this at all, but I know I was when I first started. You picture someone leading ritual, and you picture maybe somebody with a lot of lore knowledge. And that's a much more abstract idea of what a Gothi is. At its fundamental level, a Gothi is a leader of our people. They're also a bridge between our people and our gods, between our gods and our people. I think that they are the living embodiment of the Alu formula. But the duties of a Gothi are much, much more about organizing our church, about helping our members with real life questions. As a Gothi, I do a lot more counseling with people asking me, hey, I had a tragedy in my family. Can you help me? Um, hey, I'm having this struggle with my child. Can you give me advice? Uh, hey, there was, one of my loved ones died. Can you help me through this process? Hey, what do I do? My life's fallen apart. What do I do? I've, had a bad relationship go wrong, or I've come back from deployment and I'm having trouble, or dealing with the sickness of a parent. I deal a lot more with that than I ever deal with, Matt, what's the name of the eagle that sits atop the world tree? Lore knowledge is important, but being a Gothi is much more about actually helping our folk with the needs that are relevant in their life. And that's a skill that's learned as being a folk builder. As a folk builder, you do the hard work. You put in the time, you put in the effort, you get to know our members, you get to know their families, you get to know our AFA community and what we do, and you become familiar with that. And you're willing to put in all the behind the scenes work that's not fun, that's not you standing in a circle and hollering. And those fundamentals need to be in place before it's appropriate to have you lead our folk and lead our folk builders as a Gothi. So yes, we do have you go through that stage of becoming an oath folk builder before you're eligible to apply for our Gothar program. Justin, I have never done a bloat in full or Old North. I'm sorry, Old Norse. I am not fluent in Old Norse, although being with this as long as I have, there's certain things I pick up. The times that I have recited things in Old Norse, I will tell you for me, and this isn't speaking for everyone, I don't feel that it's fantastic. I think that using certain Old Norse names for things and for concepts or maybe a phrase is great. I think that fully trying to memorize or speak something in Old Norse when you're not familiar with it is less desirable, because when you're in bloat, it's not a show you're performing. It's a very literal communing with the gods. When I do bloat, I like to speak directly from my heart, from my soul, to our gods or whoever we're giving bloat to. I need to do that in a way that's very authentic and very real to me, and not in a way that feels put on or feels acted out. So it's really important to me to say things in a way that's natural, in a way that I know, and communicate precisely in a way that I'm comfortable with. If I was if I was extremely fluent in Old Norse and very conversational in it, then that may be a great thing. The other thing that I mentioned, a Gothi being a bridge between the gods and our folk. If the folk present don't speak Old Norse, our gods are smart enough, I believe they understand any of our languages, but our folk sure don't. No, I don't. Um, while I would appreciate the beauty of somebody performing a bloat in a foreign tongue to me, or one that's not foreign but ancient and I don't speak, what means more is that they're speaking words that resonate with me, that they're speaking words that I can agree with or can feel moved by while they're communicating with the gods. And that when they're communicating with us to build that bridge, that it's a way that I can connect with and I can be a part of and feel connected to. So, I hope that answers your question. No, I have not done a bloat in Old Norse. Jarl Knudsen. I do not have a relationship with or any contact with Hellenists or other Indo-European groups. Not opposed to it. I'd be very happy to interact with those folks. I haven't seen a lot of those people that are performing that religion in a very modern context. There's a lot of very very reconstructed groups trying to do that. I suppose my interaction has been I've liked some Facebook pages of certainly some Roman reconstruction groups that look kind of cool. And I'll mention this, I'll put it out there. One of the things that I found trouble with Hellenist, with Roman groups, with more Celtic oriented groups is an imbalance. I think I've seen in those groups, I know that I've seen in a lot of those groups, especially the Celtic, a huge emphasis on matriarchy and feminism and girl power all the time. And I think that's certainly a distortion of our values and of what I think is really beautiful about women. I've noticed in a lot of the Hellenic groups, almost exclusively in the Hellenic groups and in the Roman groups, a huge push towards the orgy and towards homosexuality. I know in certain historical practices that some of that existed in Roman and Hellenic groups way back in antiquity, but the second they start doing Hellenism, all of a sudden it starts getting really gay, and I find that to be contrary to our values and extremely unbalanced and disrespectful to the gods as they were expressed to the Greeks and the Romans of the day. I appreciate Bodhi on the side flexing his knowledge about the eagle at the top of the world tree that I briefly mentioned. Thank you, Bodhi. Joe asks what my thoughts are on combating divisive mindsets. People who say Celtic bloodline shouldn't be admitted, as an example. If Celtic blood should preclude you from being part of the Austrian Folk Assembly, I think Steve McNallen would probably dislike that. I think that our church certainly was founded by a man that's very significantly Celtic. I think that's silly. I mentioned it earlier. There's a tendency within our folks, and especially within a lot of our people today, to do the purity spiral. And everything has to be the most pure possible expression. And when we do that, well, no, we can't be Pan-Indo-European. We have to be just Northern Europe. Okay, we can't be just Northern European. We have to be just Germanic. We can't be just Germanic. We have to be just Prussian. Can't be just Prussian. You have to be in Danzig. Can't be just in Danzig. You have to be on the east side of Kaiserstrasse in Danzig, or else you don't count. We have to be on, in building A, not building B. You can carry that to the most stupid extreme. And I don't think everyone does it out of silliness, but we have this chaotic tendency to eat our own and to find silly stuff to squabble over. Just take a look at the world around us and what we do. The AFA is doing amazing. We're doing the best we've ever done. But our membership is the tiniest fraction of our folk out there in the world. Yet we squabble on, we need to parse it down more and more into irrelevancy. Every time a group of people of our folk get together and start being successful and start winning, you get egos individually that always feel a need to try to tear it down. We get crab in the bucket syndrome, and everybody wants to break it up and balkanize it into the most tiny, insignificant group imaginable. We are strong together. We are strong as a unit. We're strong when we stand as one people, as one race before our gods. When our people stand together, we have a strength when we become growingly insignificant by being, we take a group of hundreds, divide it into groups of 10, and then that group of 10 is going to come into, two groups of five. And then that group of five, and we've seen this in the very early days of House of Truth, that group of five people ends up being five guys in their backyard arguing over who gets the big piece of chicken. And we lose all the progress we got. So those divisive people, they're welcome to go on their way and build up whatever little group of people they want to do the best way they want to do it. But cut them out like a cancer, because we don't want to lose all the progress we've made so that we're five fat dudes in the backyard arguing over the big piece of chicken. All right, guys. Well, I think this is about a half an hour longer than the longest previous one of these we've done. I appreciate you guys being here with me tonight. Appreciate all of the interaction, all of the great questions. I appreciate our champion Bodie going into the lists over there on the side. We appreciate that. No, this has been great tonight. I've had a really good time talking with you. Is there any last questions or, final stuff that I didn't get to that you guys wanted me to address tonight? Anything? Rob, it's a thing. I don't even think I exaggerated very much. It's a thing, and I think that you would know from the theodsman that I'm a little bit closer to home than other people may realize on that. All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate it tonight. Like I said, I look forward to these every month. You guys have been great. Thank you so much for all the participation. I hope you guys, I'm going to talk to you throughout the year, obviously, but I hope you guys have a really great start to 2021. I'm very, very proud to be part of the House of Truth Folk Assembly. I'm proud to be here with you at the cusp of this new year. And I'm very excited about all these things we have ahead of us. We've got some really amazing things going on this year. So stay tuned. I look forward to talking to you guys, if not sooner, next month for our next live chat here. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you. Have a good night. Hail the gods, hail the folk, hail the AFA.